Time is an American weekly news magazine and news website published in New York City. It was founded in 1923 and originally run by Henry Luce. A European edition, Time Europe, formerly known as Time Atlantic, is published in London and also covers the Middle East, Africa, and, since 2003, Latin America. An Asian edition, Time Asia, is based in Hong Kong. The South Pacific edition, which covers Australia, New Zealand, and the Pacific Islands, is based in Sydney. In December 2008, Time discontinued publishing a Canadian Advertiser edition. Time has the world's largest circulation for a weekly news magazine. The print edition has a readership of 26 million, 20 million of whom are based in the United States. In mid-2012, its circulation was over 3 million, which fell to 2 million by late 2017. Formerly published by Time Incorporated, since November 2018 Time has been published by Time USA, LLC, owned by Mark Benioff. History. Time magazine was created in 1923 by Britton Haddon and Henry Luce, making it the first weekly news magazine in the United States. The two had previously worked together as chairman and managing editor, respectively, of the Yale Daily News. They first called the proposed magazine Facts. They wanted to emphasize brevity, so that a busy man could read it in an hour. They changed the name to Time and used the slogan Take Time, it's brief. Haddon was considered carefree and liked to tease Luce. He saw Time as important, but also fun, which accounted for its heavy coverage of celebrities and politicians, the entertainment industry and pop culture, criticizing it as too light for serious news. It set out to tell the news through people, and for many decades, the magazine's cover depicted a single person. More recently, Time has incorporated People of the Year issues which grew in popularity over the years. Notable mentions of them were Barack Obama, Steve Jobs, etc. The first issue of Time was published on March 3, 1923, featuring Joseph G. Cannon, the retired Speaker of the House of Representatives. On its cover, a facsimile reprint of issue number 1, including all of the articles and advertisements contained in the original, was included with copies of the February 28, 1938 issue as a commemoration of the magazine's 15th anniversary. The cover price was 15 cents, equivalent to $2.21 in 2018. On Haddon's death in 1929, Luce became the dominant man at Time and a major figure in the history of 20th century media. According to Time Incorporated, The Intimate History of a Publishing Enterprise 1972 to 2004 by Robert Elson, Roy Edward Larson, was to play a role second only to Luce's in the development of Time Incorporated. In his book, The March of Time, 1935 to 1951, Raymond Fielding also noted that Larson was originally circulation manager and then general manager of Time, later publisher of Life, for many years president of Time Incorporated, and in the long history of the corporation the most influential and important figure after Luce. Around the time they were raising $100,000 from wealthy Yale alumni such as Henry P. Davison, partner of J.P. Morgan & Co., publicity man Martin Egan and J.P. Morgan & Company banker Dwight Morrow, Henry Luce, and Britton Haddon hired Larson in 1922, although Larson was a Harvard graduate and Luce and Haddon were Yale graduates. After Haddon died in 1929, Larson purchased 550 shares of Time Incorporated, using money he obtained from selling RKO stock which he had inherited from his father, who was the head of the Benjamin Franklin Keith Theatre chain in New England. However, after Britton Haddon's death, the largest Time Incorporated stockholder was Henry Luce, who ruled the media conglomerate in an autocratic fashion. At his right hand was Larson, Time's second largest stockholder, according to Time Incorporated, The Intimate History of a Publishing Enterprise 1923 to 1941. In 1929, Royal Larson was also named a Time Incorporated director and vice president. J. P. Morgan retained a certain control through 2 directorates and a share of stocks, both over Time and Fortune. Other shareholders were Brown Brothers W. A. Harriman & Co., and the New York Trust Company, Standard Oil. The Time Incorporated stock owned by Luce at the time of his death was worth about $109 million, and it had been yielding him a yearly dividend of more than $2.4 million, according to Curtis Prendergast's The World of Time Incorporated, The Intimate History of a Changing Enterprise 1957 to 1983. The Larson family's time stock was worth around $80 million during the 1960s. And Royal Larson was both a Time Incorporated director and the chairman of its executive committee, later serving as Time's vice chairman of the board until the middle of 1979. According to the September 10, 1979, issue of the New York Times, Mr. Larson was the only employee in the company's history given an exemption from its policy of mandatory retirement at age 65. After Time magazine began publishing its weekly issues in March 1923, Royal Larson was able to increase its circulation by using U.S. radio in movie theaters around the world. It often promoted both Time magazine and U.S. political and corporate interests. According to the March of Time, as early as 1924, Larson had brought Time into the infant radio business with the broadcast of a 15-minute sustaining quiz show entitled Pop Question, which survived until 1925 inches. Then, in 1928, Larson undertook the weekly broadcast of a 10-minute program series of brief news summaries, drawn from current issues of Time magazine, which was originally broadcast over 33 stations throughout the United States. Larson next arranged for a 30-minute radio program, The March of Time, to be broadcast over CBS, beginning on March 6, 1931. Each week, the program presented a dramatization of the week's news for its listeners, thus Time magazine itself was brought to the attention of millions previously unaware of its existence. According to Time Incorporated, The Intimate History of a Publishing Enterprise 1923 to 1941, leading to an increased circulation of the magazine during the 1930s. Between 1931 and 1937, Larson's The March of Time radio program was broadcast over CBS radio, and between 1937 and 1945 it was broadcast over NBC radio, except for the 1939 to 1941 period when it was not aired. People magazine was based on Time's People page. In 1989, when Time Incorporated and Warner Communications merged, Time became part of Time Warner, along with Warner Brothers. In 1988, Jason McManus succeeded Henry Grunwald as editor-in-chief and oversaw the transition before Norman Pearlstein succeeded him in 1995. In 2000, Time became part of AOL Time Warner, which reverted to the name Time Warner in 2003. In 2007, Time moved from a Monday subscription, newsstand delivery to a schedule where the magazine goes on sale Fridays, and is delivered to subscribers on Saturday. The magazine actually began in 1923 with Friday publication. During early 2007, the year's first issue was delayed for roughly a week due to editorial changes, including the layoff of 49 employees. In 2009, Time announced that they were introducing a personalized print magazine, Mine, mixing content from a range of Time Warner publications based on the reader's preferences. The new magazine met with a poor reception, with criticism that its focus was too broad to be truly personal. The magazine has an online archive with the unformatted text for every article published. The articles are indexed and were converted from scanned images using optical character recognition technology. The minor errors in the text are remnants of the conversion into digital format. Time Incorporated and Apple have come to an agreement wherein U.S. subscribers to Time will be able to read the iPad versions for free, at least until the two companies sort out a viable digital subscription model. In January 2013, Time Incorporated announced that it would cut nearly 500 jobs, roughly 6% of its 8,000 staff worldwide. Although Time magazine has maintained high sales, its ad pages have declined significantly over time. Also in January 2013, Time Incorporated named Martha Nelson as the first female editor-in-chief of its magazine division. In September 2013, Nancy Gibbs was named as the first female managing editor of Time magazine. In November 2017, Meredith Corporation announced its acquisition of Time Incorporated, backed by Koch Equity Development. In March 2018, only 6 weeks after the closure of the sale, Meredith announced that it would explore the sale of Time and sister magazines Fortune, Money, Sports Illustrated, since they did not align with the company's lifestyle brands. In September 2018, Meredith announced that it would resell Time to Mark Benioff and his wife Lynn for $190 million, which was completed on October 31, 2018. Although Benioff is the chairman and co-CEO of Salesforce.com, Time will remain separate from the company, and Benioff will not be involved in its daily operations. Time USA, LLC, the parent company of the magazine, is owned by Mark Benioff. Circulation. During the second half of 2009, the magazine had a 34.9% decline in newsstand sales. During the first half of 2010, another decline of at least one-third in Time magazine sales occurred. In the second half of 2010, Time magazine newsstand sales declined by about 12% to just over 79,000 copies per week. As of 2012, it had a circulation of 3.3 million, making it the 11th most circulated magazine in the United States, and the second most circulated weekly behind People. As of July 2017, its circulation was 3,028,013. In October 2017, Time cut its circulation to 2 million. Time has the world's largest circulation for a weekly news magazine. The print edition has a readership of 26 million, 20 million of whom are based in the United States. In mid-2012, its circulation was over 3 million, which had lowered to 2 million by late 2017. Style. Time initially possessed a distinctive writing style, making regular use of inverted sentences. This was parodied in 1936 by Wolcott Gibbs in The New Yorker. Backward ran sentences until reeled the mind, where it all will end, knows God. Until the mid-1970s, Time had a weekly section called Listings, which contained capsule summaries and/or reviews of then-current significant films, plays, musicals, television programs, and literary bestsellers similar to The New Yorker's current events section. Time is also known for its signature red border, first introduced in 1927. The borders has only been changed 5 times since 1927. The issue released shortly after the September 11 attacks on the United States featured a black border to symbolize mourning. However, this was a special extra edition published quickly for the breaking news of the event. The next regularly scheduled issue contained the red border. The April 28, 2008 Earth Day issue, dedicated to environmental issues, contained a green border. The September 19, 2011 issue, commemorating the 10th anniversary of September 11 attacks, had a metallic silver border. Another silver border was used in the December 31, 2012 issue, noting Barack Obama's selection as Person of the Year. The most recent change was the November 28/December 5, 2016 issue, also featuring a silver border covering the most influential photos of all time. Former President Richard Nixon has been among the most frequently featured on the front page of Time, having appeared 55 times from the August 25, 1952 issue to the May 2, 1994 issue. In 2007, Time engineered a style overhaul of the magazine. Among other changes, the magazine reduced the red cover border to promote featured stories, enlarged column titles, reduced the number of featured stories, increased white space around articles, and accompanied opinion pieces with photographs of the writers. The changes were met with both criticism and praise. Special editions. Person of the Year. Time's most famous feature throughout its history has been the annual Person of the Year, formerly Man of the Year, cover story, in which Time recognizes the individual or group of individuals who have had the biggest impact on news headlines over the past 12 months. The distinction is supposed to go to the person who, for good or ill, has most affected the course of the year. It is, therefore, not necessarily an honor or a reward. In the past, such figures as Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin have been Man of the Year. In 2006, Person of the Year was designated as U, a move that was met with split reviews. Some thought the concept was creative, others wanted an actual Person of the Year. Editors Pepper and Timmer reflected that, if it had been a mistake, we're only going to make it once. In 2017, Time named the Silence Breakers, women and men who came forward with personal stories of sexual harassment, as Person of the Year. Time 100. In recent years, Time has assembled an annual list of the 100 most influential people of the year. Originally, they had made a list of the 100 most influential people of the 20th century. These issues usually have the front cover filled with pictures of people from the list and devote a substantial amount of space within the magazine to the 100 articles about each person on the list. In some cases, over 100 people have been included, as when two people have made the list together, sharing one spot. The magazine also compiled all-time 100 best novels and all-time 100 best movies lists in 2005, the 100 best TV shows of all time in 2007, and all-time 100 fashion icons in 2012. In February 2016, Time included the British and male author Evelyn Waugh on its 100 most read female writers in college classes list. He was 97th on the list, which created much media attention and concerns about the level of basic education among the magazine's staff. Time later issued a retraction. In a BBC interview with Justin Webb, Professor Valentine Cunningham of Corpus Christi College, Oxford, described the mistake as a piece of profound ignorance on the part of Time magazine. Red X covers. During its history, on 5 non-consecutive occasions, Time has released a special issue with a cover showing an X scrawled over the face of a man or a national symbol. The first Time magazine with a red X cover was released on May 7, 1945, showing a red X over Adolf Hitler's face. The second X cover was released more than 3 months later on August 20, 1945, with a black X, to date, the magazine's only such use of a black X, covering the flag of Japan, representing the recent surrender of Japan and which signaled the end of World War II. 58 years later, on April 21, 2003, Time released another issue with a red X over Saddam Hussein's face, 2 weeks after the start of the invasion of Iraq. On June 13, 2006, Time magazine printed a red X cover issue following the death of Abu Misbah al-Zarqa'i in a U.S. airstrike in Iraq. The most recent red X cover issue of Time was published on May 2, 2011, after the death of Osama bin Laden. Time for Kids. Time for Kids is a division magazine of Time that is especially published for children and is mainly distributed in classrooms. TFK contains some national news, a cartoon of the week, and a variety of articles concerning popular culture. An annual issue concerning the environment is distributed near the end of the U.S. school term. The publication rarely exceeds 10 pages front and back. Time Lightbox. Time Lightbox is a photography blog created and curated by Time's photo department that was launched in 2011. In 2011, Life picked Lightbox for its Photo Blog Awards. Staff. Richard Stengel was the managing editor from May 2006 to October 2013, when he joined the U.S. State Department. Nancy Gibbs was the managing editor from September 2013 until September 2017. She was succeeded by Edward Felsenthal, who had been Time's digital editor. Editors. Britton Haddon, 1923 to 1929. Henry Luce, 1929 to 1949. T.S. Matthews, 1949 to 1953. Roy Alexander, 1960 to 1966. Managing editors. Notable contributors. Arvind Adiga, Time correspondent for 3 years, winner of the 2008 Man Booker Prize for Fiction. James Agee, book and movie editor for Time. Kurt Anderson, member of the Maryland House of Delegates. Ann Blackman, deputy news chief in Washington. Ian Bremmer, current editor-at-large. Margaret Carlson, the first female columnist for Time. Robert Cantwell, writer, editor 1936, 1941. Whittaker Chambers, writer, senior editor 1939, 1948. Richard Corliss, film critic for the magazine since 1980. Brad Derrick, film critic. Nigel Dennis, drama critic. John Gregory Dunn, reporter, later author and screenwriter. Peter Economy, author and editor. Alexander Elliott, art editor from 1945 to 1961, author of 18 books on art, mythology, and history, including 300 Years of American Painting, published by Time Life Books. John T. Elson, religion editor who wrote famous 1966 Is God Dead? Cover story. Dean E. Fisher, reporter and editor, 1964 to 81. Nancy Gibbs, essayist and editor-at-large, has written more than 100 Time cover stories. Lev Grossman, wrote primarily about books and technology for the magazine. Dina Guzder, a human rights journalist and author. Wilder Hobson, reporter in 1930s and 40s. Robert Hughes, Time's long-tenured art critic. Pico Iyer, essayist and novelist, essayist for Time since 1986. Alvin N. Josephy Jr., photo editor 1952 to 60, also a historian and Hollywood screenwriter. Weldon Keys, critic. Joe Klein, author, primary colors, and a Time columnist who wrote the In the Arena column. Louis Cronenberger, drama critic 1938 to 1961. André Laguerre, Paris bureau chief 1948 to 1956, London bureau chief 1951 to 1956, also wrote about sports for Time, later longtime managing editor of Sports Illustrated. Nathaniel Land, author, filmmaker, and former creative director of Time. Will Lang Jr. 1936 to 1968, Time Life International. Marshall Loeb, writer and editor from 1956 through 1980. John Moody, Vatican and Rome correspondent 1986 through 1996. Jim Murray, West Coast correspondent 1948 to 1955. Lance Morrow, back-page essayist from 1976 through 2000. Roger Rosenblatt, essayist from 1979 until 2006. Richard Scull, film critic from 1965 through 2010. Hugh Sidey, political reporter and columnist, beginning in 1957. Donald L. Bartlett and James B. Steele, investigative reporters who won 2 National Magazine Awards while at Time. Joel Stein, columnist who wrote the Joel 100 just after Time magazine's most influential issue in 2006. Calvin Trillin, food writer, was a reporter for Time from 1960 to 1963. David Vunderell, current editor-at-large. Lacintha Wickramatunge, journalist. Robert Wright, contributing editor. Fareed Zakaria, current editor-at-large. Snapshot, 1940 editorial staff. In 1940, William Saroy enlists the full-time editorial department in the play, Love's Old Sweet Song. This 1940 snapshot includes: editor, Henry R. Luce. Managing editors, Manfred Gottfried, Frank Norris, T. S. Matthews. Associate editors, Carlton J. Ballard Jr., Robert Cantwell, Laird S. Goldsborough, David W. Hubbard Jr., John Stuart Martin, Fanny Saul, Walter Stockley, Dana Tasker, Charles Warrington Baker. Contributing editors, Roy Alexander, John F. Allen, Robert W. Boyd Jr., Roger Butterfield, Whittaker Chambers, James G. Crowley, Robert Fitzgerald, Calvin Fixx, Walter Grebner, John Hersey, Sidney L. James, Elliot Janeway, Pearl Grawl, Louis Cronenberger, Thomas K. Krug, John T. McManus, Sherry Mencken, Peter Matthews, Robert the Neville, Emmeline Nunn, Duncan Norton Taylor, Sidney Olson, John Osborne, Content Beckham, Green Payton, Willis Dan C. Rich Jr., Winthrop Sargent, Robert Sherrod, Lois Stover, Leon Sversky, Felice Swados, Samuel G. Wells Jr., Warren Wilhelm, and Alfred Wright Jr. Editorial assistants, Ellen Mayak, Sheila Baker, Sonia Bigman, Elizabeth Budelranen, Maria de Blasio, Hannah Durand, Jean Ford, Dorothy Gorrell, Helen Gwynn, Edith Hind, Lois Holsworth, Diana Jackson, Mary V. Johnson, Alice Lent, Catherine Lowe, Carolyn Marks, Helen McCreary, Gertrude McCulloch, Mary Louise Mickey, Anna North, Mary Palmer, Tabitha Pedran, Elizabeth Sakardoff, Frances Stevenson, Helen Vind, Eleanor Welch, and Mary Wells. Competitors, U.S. The following is a list of other major American news magazines. The Atlantic, 1857. Bloomberg Businessweek, 1929. The New Yorker, 1925. The Nation, 1865. Mother Jones, 1976. National Review, 1955. The New Republic, 1914. Newsmax, 1998. Newsweek, 1933. U.S. News and World Report, 1923. The Weekly Standard, 1925 to 2018. World, 1986. See also: Heroes of the Environment. List of people on the cover of Time magazine. The Thriving Cult of Greed and Power, 1991 article about Scientology, by Richard Beher, which received the Gerald Loeb Award. Is God Dead? One of Time's most famous covers. References. Bibliography. Bauman, James L. 2011, Henry R. Luce and the Business of Journalism, PDF, Business and Economic History Online, 9, retrieved October 8, 2018. Bauman, James L. April 28, 2004, Henry R. Luce and the Rise of the American News Media, American Masters, retrieved October 8, 2018. Brinkley, Alan, 2010, The Publisher, Henry Luce and His American Century, Alfred A. Knopf, ISBN 978-0307592910. Maslin, Janet, April 20, 2010, A Magazine Master Builder, Book Review, The New York Times, p. C1, retrieved April 20, 2010. Brinkley, Alan, April 19, 2010, What Would Henry Luce Make of the Digital Age? Time, Athenaeum, excerpt and text search. Elson, Robert T. 1968, Time Incorporated, The Intimate History of a Publishing Enterprise, 1923 to 1941, Athenaeum, ISBN 978-0689105555, Official Corporate History. Elson, Robert T. 1973, Norton Taylor, Duncan, ed., The World of Time Incorporated, The Intimate History,